I'm John Lentz, City and State Senior Correspondent, and joining me today is Assemblyman Gary Pretlow, Chair of the Assembly Racing and Wagering Committee. Thanks for being with us.
John, it's a pleasure to be here.
And we're doing a big feature on racing and gaming in New York, and I wanted to ask you first, I know it's out of your hands, but with the legalization of commercial casinos in New York, where that process is, how you've seen it roll out, is it going well? Are there things that could have been done better?
Well, right now the Gaming Commission has designated 3 of the 4 approved licenses, and there's another one in Tioga that we did a rebid on, and that's still in the process of being approved or not. As of this date, no licenses have been issued, but they're still going through the vetting process. But the people who won the award or were awarded the right to open a casino have already started construction in some cases, and have started hiring people and training people and putting them through, casino school and dealer school and whatever. So it's going to happen. It's just a slow process, and the state wants to make triply sure that everything is on the up and clean, and everyone associated with the casinos when they open have no smudges on their record, because this is a big step for New York. We've fought gambling for forever, and finally we got it in. Governor Cuomo, to his credit, agreed with us. I mean, I sponsored legislation back in '92 to do non-Indian gaming in the Catskills, and it's just never happened. Governor Pataki said he wanted it, and he didn't, and then Governor Spitzer, he didn't know what he wanted to do with it, and Patterson wasn't big on gaming. So finally, here we are in 2015, and it's finally going to happen.
And one of those bids, the Lago Casino and Resort, it's run into some legal trouble, some legal challenges. I think they'll actually have to redo their environmental review process. Any thoughts on how that particular project is playing out?
I did personally like that project because, number one, I think it violated the compact we had with the Oneidas. I mean, there was a little sliver of available area that wasn't in the Oneida area, so technically it doesn't violate it, but it is right next to the Oneida Native American compact area. Secondly, what really is hurtful, and most people don't know this, but we get a lot of money for racing from Batavia and from Buffalo. And what's going to happen is, if people are drained off from that track and the OTBs up there that are doing the betting, which supplies money to the purses. I mean, Finger Lakes is where the horses that don't really run NYRA tracks anymore, they go to Finger Lakes. But that's also the heart of our winter racing. And if we lose the purse money that the VLTs are giving now to the purses at Finger Lakes, there'll be no winter racing in New York, and that will be devastating for the entire industry. I mean, we've worked hard and long trying to bring New York racing up to a class or a quality equal to Kentucky. And we're just about there. Right now, with the new laws that we put into effect in the past couple of years, people are actually moving their horses from Kentucky to New York to qualify as New York-bred horses. This casino has the possibility of ruining all of that. So I'm looking very closely at that and trying to do something legislatively where that casino, if it does happen, would actually have to put money into the purses at the Finger Lakes track, because we need the racing there.
And I want to ask a few questions about horse racing, but before I get to that, you mentioned the Southern Tier region, how they reopened that region for a casino bid. Yes. The Tioga Downs, Racino submitted a bid. Were you surprised by how that played out, that first they didn't get anything and then they reopened?
Yes, I was surprised how that turned out. Mr. Gural, that owns that track, was a staunch supporter of the casino, or passing the constitutional amendment for casino gaming. He does have the location that most people, not most, almost everyone thought would be the Finger Lakes area. There was, between him, there was also, I think it was Heritage and another entity in that general area, the Binghamton area, that were vying for a license. And for the Gaming Commission to give it to Lago, which is all the way up by Rochester, nowhere near the Finger Lakes, I think was a miscarriage of the intent that what we're trying to do. We're trying to spread it around the state. We now have a concentration of casinos in that area because if Lago opens, we have the Turning Stone that has been operating. Ray Halbreda, who is he runs Turning Stone, is threatening, not threatening, he is opening a casino very close to where Lago is going to be, and it's just going to be, I think, a bad situation for all parties concerned.
And talking about racetrack casinos, you have one of those existing running in your backyard, the Empire City Casino.
Yes.
Are you concerned how they might fare with these new full-scale casinos opening up?
I don't think that they'll be hurt very much. The closest casino to them will be 90 miles away. Most people that play slot machines aren't going to travel to the Catskills to play slot machines when they can go to Yonkers and do the slot machines. I take credit, and sometimes I get beaten up for this, but I take credit for the demise of Atlantic City because the legislation that we'd put through, and with the Racino, what happened, I live in Westchester County, and prior to our Racino legislation, 70 buses used to leave Westchester County every single day to go to Atlantic City. Today in 2015, 0 buses leave Westchester County to go to Atlantic City.
Remarkable.
So all of that was, they're all slot players. I mean, the people who played poker and roulette and baccarat, they didn't take the bus down. So the bus traffic has been totally cut off, and that has translated to large amounts of gaming in Yonkers, and of course the Racino at Aqueduct is doing fantastically well. And people, when I tell people what their monthly handle is there, they're usually flabbergasted.
Well, switching gears to horse racing, which you mentioned earlier, the New York Racing Association, that's been in the news over the last couple of years. It was taken over by the state. It seemed to clean up its finances to some degree, get out of the red ink. You recently signed a letter calling for the state to return control to the private sector. Why is this important?
Well, it's important because the people that are now on the board, I know they all have good intentions, but really none of them are racing people. And yes, you can hire people to do that job, but I really don't think that the industry should be controlled by people whose interests are not really in horse racing. It's not just the bottom line. There's a lot more happening with this. And we have the people who own a bookstore, we have a celebrity chef, we have someone who ran Toys R Us. I mean, we have a lot of good business people with good business acumen, but they're not racing people. And those that do control or do live in the world of horse racing, I think feel more comfortable if the board had members that really knew about racing.
And the existing model with NYRA, though, is that something we're stuck with based on contracts that are existing?
Well, NYRA, if it goes to privatization, that doesn't mean that I'm advocating that we sell it off to Churchill or anyone else. Privatization just means that the board won't be controlled by gubernatorial appointees. Right now, 7 of the 9 appointees really go through the governor, so they, in effect, control everything that's happening. Privatization really means that it goes back to being a public benefit corporation, and it's a franchise issued by the state of New York. The New York State still owns the property that the tracks are on, and it's just that it'll be run internally rather than run by a governmental entity, meaning New York State.
And is that the ideal scenario, or if you had a blank slate and you could do anything put in any kind of government structure, is that what you would do, or
Well,
would you do
I don't
something
think it
else?
should be a government structure. I think that it should run and pay the state a franchise fee. I mean, it should run well, it should be managed well, and the state, I mean, we're not in the business of running racetracks. That's not what New York State, it's not in our Constitution to do. But we do issue licenses for people to do things and make money in the state of New York and pay their taxes. And what we're really interested in is getting a return from this entity. And I think if it were put into the hands of quote unquote racing people, that will happen.
And then one final topic, your colleague in the Senate, State Senator John Bonasek, he recently held a hearing on online gambling. Mm-hmm. It's my understanding that when full-scale casinos were legalized, it potentially opened the door for online gambling in New York, but there's still the federal issue. Do you think this is a good thing to pursue in New York? It's something to push for?
Well, right now, online gambling is legal. There is a move to reinstitute the Wire Act and make it illegal. Though at this point, I don't know if we're ready to start with online poker. I don't want the federal government to say that we can't do it. I have issues with the lottery. I want to be able to, at some point, maybe sell lottery tickets over the internet. Right now, that is illegal. You can't sell lottery tickets over the internet. But at one point, we may want to do that. If the federal government says that we can't, then that puts us out of the loop.
So, at this point, what can be done in terms of online gambling in New York, and what can't be done?
Right now, nothing can be done. The only online gambling that we have, and I'm looking at this right now, is fantasy sports. Okay. When the prohibition was put into place, they specifically excluded fantasy sports, and now you can't turn on your television without seeing an ad for I made $2 million playing fantasy sports. I listen to sports radio, and they're constantly talking about these entities. There's two major ones, I won't mention their names, but everyone knows who they are. And everyone's making tens of thousands of dollars betting a dollar. Now, in my eyes, that is gambling. And I think that if it's gambling, it should be controlled, and to some extent, through the state.
And how lucrative do you think that could be if online gambling was opened up more in New York?
I don't know how lucrative online gambling would be, because there is the person that gambles online doesn't necessarily go to a casino. New Jersey's, who does have online gambling right now, they're not making anywhere near what they thought they would make. The handle is nowhere near what they thought it would be. Because if you look at it, it looks like a video game. It looks like a cartoon. And a lot of people just don't want to get into that. You can buy a computer game, from the software store and play those games for submitting the same money. And then if you see the ads, I mean, it's like really ridiculous. I won $200. I don't know how lucrative it would be. But like I say, there is a move to do online poker, not necessarily online roulette and baccarat and all the others. But we're looking at it. It won't happen this year. I've been very public in stating that it won't be approved in New York until at least all the casinos are up and running. And they have to be part of it, and the racinos have to be part of it, because people made decisions based on the world as it was when they made those decisions. And they've offered, because we didn't have a licensing fee, the licensing fee was determined by the person that was bidding. Now, I don't want to change their world and take away any potential customers or clientele from them before they even open the door. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right.
Someone in Pretlow, thank you.
You're very welcome.